First, when there's a dispute between police and the media, I'm often critical of the media because, let's face it, the media haven't really given the police a fair shake in recent years. They amplify every misstep from law enforcement, invent others, while largely ignoring the extreme danger cops face on the job. I often feel like we're the only media entity showing the heroism police show on a regular basis. There are many outlets who just aren't honest brokers in their coverage of law enforcement. But I have to say, I am puzzled by the stance being taken by law enforcement officials in Texas who are looking to block the media and the public from seeing body cam footage of the Uvalde school shooting. And their reasons for keeping the video under wraps don't make a whole lot of sense. The technology website Motherboard was one of several outlets to request the footage from the Texas Department of Public Safety. The state's public information law mandates that the Department of Public Safety respond to the request within 10 days. Now, I don't know what's on those tapes. The Uvalde Police Department has obviously come under heavy criticism for their tactics responding to the shooting at Robb Elementary, specifically over the reported hour and 17-minute gap between the time officers arrived at the scene and when they ultimately entered the school. Now, the release of the footage might not be flattering, but it would sure go a long way towards trying to set the record straight. Yet the Texas Department of Public Safety and now the district attorney are fighting the release. Now look, if the shooter was alive and they were saying it's part of an ongoing criminal investigation, he's going to go to trial, okay, I'd understand that. But in a letter to State Attorney General Ken Paxton, the department argued that, quote, revealing the marked records would provide criminals with invaluable information concerning department techniques used to investigate and detect activities of suspected criminal elements, how information is assessed and analyzed, how information is shared among partner law enforcement agencies, and the lessons learned from the analysis of prior criminal activities. Knowing the intelligence and response capabilities of department personnel and where those employees focus their attention will compromise law enforcement purposes by enabling criminals to anticipate weakness in law enforcement procedures and alter their methods of operation in order to avoid detection and apprehension. Consequently, the department believes the records should be accepted from required public disclosure, at least until the investigation is complete. Using that logic, you would deny most, if not all, body cam videos of crimes. It's not like this guy was some criminal mastermind. And the lessons to be learned are more likely what not to do on the part of law enforcement rather than what to do. Now, local authorities in Uvalde are joining state officials in a statement released late this afternoon. Uvalde Mayor Don McLaughlin announced, quote, the city of Uvalde and its police department strive for transparency every day. The Uvalde County District Attorney has requested the city to not release any city records related to the Robb Elementary School investigation. The DA told us the material is still being reviewed and her investigation is ongoing. When all investigations and reviews are complete, the city will evaluate release of city records. Appreciate your interest in telling the story of what happened. I want answers, and our families deserve answers, and we trust the answers will come. Striving for transparency? What does that mean? Well, here's what the Texas state law says about disclosing this kind of stuff. Texas Government Code, Chapter 552, gives you the right to access government records, and an officer for public information and the officer's agent may not ask you why you want them. All government information is presumed to be available to the public. Certain exceptions may apply to the disclosure of the information. Governmental bodies shall promptly release requested information that is not confidential by law. That last category is vague, but I'm not making a legal argument here. I don't think the law is that clear, so they probably have a lot of discretion. But this footage is going to come out, whether it's through a civil case or any number of other mechanisms. So what are they up to here? Well, let's bring in Jeff Halstead. He's the retired chief of the Fort Worth, Texas Police Department, now a law enforcement consultant. Thanks very much for coming on the show. Appreciate it. All right, so am I missing anything here? I mean, could there be a good reason with this set of facts, shooter is dead, why this footage shouldn't be made public?
You know, the only reason I can really assume from this is there are many tactical advancements that were made on behalf of the team, the responding officers. The challenge is that you can never, ever release information that would be sacrificing officer safety on future deployments, especially SWAT teams. However, body cam technology and the editing capabilities of redacting and blurring and digitizing a lot of this information makes it almost like you can't even understand what the movements actually are perceived to be. So there's advancements today that would not fit when body cams first came out, more than 12 years ago.
And so does it feel to you like the real reason they don't want the body cam out there is for fear of being embarrassed by what they didn't do?
Well, as a retired major city chief that was in the national spotlight more than I ever wanted to be, the legal entanglements that go on are trying to make this headline dissolve because multiple lawsuits are going to be filed. They're going to be extremely expensive. And then everything that you say and share are going to give horsepower to a lot of other legal filings that will be made. So many of your legal advisors, city, county, and state, will guard you heavily to not release this type of information. I was in those meetings numerous times. Many times I disagreed because when we have an armed robbery at a bank, 2 days later, if we don't have leads, we push out that information to as many public outlets as we can. That's an ongoing investigation. That suspect hasn't had their day in court, but they seem that when there's litigation or potential litigation, they want to put the brakes on a lot of these public records release when, in fact, you can get some of this information out there without jeopardizing officer safety.
Right. So at least we can agree, can we not, that it is nonsense to claim that the reason that they can't release the information is because they're concerned about future shooters learning too much about the tactics such that they would suddenly have these new advantages based on the amazing work that was done there and the coordination, et cetera, that this is going to somehow serve as a blueprint for a future shooter. That can't actually be the reason.
It would be a blueprint for that location and that location only. And if you go back and only because when you look at the actual topography of the school and the hallways and the fence lines, yes, that could affect that location.
But I would assume that as a result of this, they're going to make some changes, right? I mean, you would assume at that location, right, that the exact same situation can't possibly occur again. So it just doesn't seem to me to be an honest reason for why they can't release the footage.
I agree with you, Dan. That is exactly right. They're going to make massive changes here. And if you go back to the history of mass shootings, none of these are criminal masterminds. They don't study law enforcement tactics. They don't look at the way our SWAT team trains, active shooter training, alert training. They look at none of that. It's impulsory, and it's usually a spur-of-the-moment type of deployment. So it's kind of a broad base reasoning they're given for this. But like I said, from my experience, it is trying to get this narrative to just dissolve for a while.
Right, but let me ask you, as a member of law enforcement, a retired member, but someone who I would assume still views yourself as aligned with law enforcement, don't you want answers from the Uvalde Police Department? I mean, this has really been a stain on police, I think, this concern that they didn't go in, right? I've said at the top of the show, I tend to be defending police departments against allegations from the media, et cetera. I do a segment on the show on a regular basis talking about the heroism involving police officers. And yet, it seems to me that when police get it wrong, or really, really wrong, that there has to be some level of accountability and fixing it. And what I'm concerned about is that the folks in Uvalde don't want to address, at least right now, the real problems that occurred in their response.
I agree with you, and I think that yes, in law enforcement, we want answers because you remember in the first 72 hours, that narrative completely changed. And I'm thinking, who in the world is in control of this information and the dissemination of information, because they got it wrong multiple times. And that's very frustrating. So the strategic release without jeopardizing officer safety would benefit not just the public and the media and good people who want to know what really happened, because we all heard from these incidents, but we as a profession can learn and adjust training and tactics, communication, not to mention the dysfunctional collaboration that exists all over the U.S. in these small rural areas. But we can learn from this, and we can move forward and make positive changes.
And look, and I know that it's a lot of the families who are pushing for it, and you're right, that I'm sure there are going to be a lot of lawsuits that are going to come out of this. But, this information is going to come out in the lawsuits. The body cam's going to be released. They're not going to be able to hide it forever. And that's why it just seems to me, you might as well release it now. It's going to come out anyway, right?
No, you're right. And, remember the mass shooting of, the Dallas police officers that were assassinated, targeted, and ambushed. That video deployment of the C4 with the robot, I believe that was withheld 5 years. Mm-hmm. So there's no investigation going on. There's no trial. There's nothing. They're going to have tougher, I think, questions in the future.
Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.